Let's be real. You've been sold a lie, a massive lie that says you have to trade the best, most energetic years of your life for what? For a promise? A flimsy promise of a weekend, a 2-week vacation here and there, and maybe, just maybe, a decent retirement when you're too old to enjoy it. Well, we're here to tell you that the whole system, that 9-to-5 grind you were taught to accept, is a trap. And today, we're going to show you how to dismantle it. Now look, this isn't just some clever line you stick on a coffee mug. This is a diagnosis. It's a diagnosis of a problem that we've all been tricked into thinking is normal, that our entire lives should be crammed into the tiny box defined by a paycheck and a 40-hour work week. It's a total failure of imagination. So it's time to get a little more imaginative, don't you think? I mean, let's just call it what it is. The 9-to-5 isn't antique. It was built for the factory line era, an era that is long gone. It's a system of deferred living. You basically put all your real dreams on layaway, crossing your fingers that you'll still have the health and the energy to cash them in when you're 65. The whole thing is structurally, fundamentally broken. You need an escape plan. Okay, so every great escape story needs a hero, right? And for this story, our hero is Tim Ferriss. But I don't want you to think of him as some guru sitting on a mountaintop. No. Think of him as the guy who built himself the most perfect gilded prison and then realized the bars were completely imaginary. He drew a map for everyone else to get out because he was trapped, maybe just like you feel right now. So get this. By 2003, Tim was pulling in 40 grand a month. $40,000. More in a month than most people make in a year. On paper, he had won the game. But what was the reality? He was working himself into the ground. We're talking 12, 15-hour days, 7 days a week, just chained to his email, putting out fires. He tried to escape to London for vacation, and on the very first morning, the stress caused a complete and total nervous breakdown. His successful business was literally eating him alive. That breakdown, though? That was his wake-up call. That was the moment he looked in the mirror and realized he'd become one of the living dead. You know, those people who pile up money but have absolutely no life to show for it? They trade all their freedom for a pair of golden handcuffs. He saw that he built his own cage and then locked the door from the inside. The game was rigged because even when he won, he lost. And that crisis, that rock-bottom moment, led to his first huge breakthrough. He had to blow up his definition of success. He realized we're all playing this game of life, but most of us are using the wrong scoreboard. We're measuring our success with a broken ruler. So check this out. Who is actually richer? The lawyer in New York City making $500,000 a year but working 80 soul-crushing hours a week? Or the person making 50 grand a year but only working 10 hours a week from a beach bungalow in Thailand? When you look at their relative income, their real hourly wage, the numbers are actually pretty close. But then you add in what Tim calls the freedom multiplier. That's total control over what you do, when you do it, where you do it, and who you do it with. That control, that is the real currency. And suddenly, it's not even a competition. The person in Thailand is infinitely wealthier. And this is how a new class of person emerges, the new rich. And listen, this is not about having $1 million in the bank. It's about creating a lifestyle of absolute freedom right now. It's about using your time and your mobility as your main currencies, not just cash. It's about living like a millionaire without needing to have the $1 million first. Okay, but once you've changed how you measure wealth, you have to face the real boss battle. And it's not your actual boss, it's not the economy, it's your own undefined, paralyzing fear. This is basically the default setting for the human brain. We would rather stick with a misery that we know than risk reaching for a happiness we can't guarantee. That job you hate feels safer than the terrifying unknown of starting something new. And that one psychological glitch is why millions of people stay stuck in lives they secretly despise. So how do you beat that fear? Not with positive thinking, not with goal setting, with fear setting. It's this amazing exercise where you force yourself to stare your fear right in the eyes. Step 1, you define the nightmare. And I mean, write down the absolute worst-case scenario in painful detail. For Tim, it was his business totally failing and his savings getting wiped out. Then he asked, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's the permanent impact? He realized it was maybe a 3. It was temporary, reversible. Then he looked at the upside, the best-case scenario, a permanent, life-changing 9 or 10. See, the real risk wasn't in leaving. The actual risk was in staying put. All right, so once you've put fear in its place, you need the tools, the practical, no BS levers you can actually pull to start dismantling your cage and engineering that escape.
The first tool is a classic, the 80-20 rule. Tim looked at his business and had a massive realization. 20% of his customers were giving him 80% of his profits. And the other 80% of his customers, they were causing almost all of his stress, all of his problems, and all of his 15-hour days. So what did he do? He did the unthinkable. He fired them. He just stopped working with his most annoying, time-wasting clients. And the result was insane. His monthly income doubled from 30 grand to 60 grand, and his work week just collapsed from 80 hours down to 15.
The next tool you need is what Tim calls a muse. Now, this is not just any old business. It's an automated cash flow machine. The whole point is to design it from day one to run without you. You are not creating another job for yourself. You're building an asset that you own, not a monster that you have to operate 24/7. It's the difference between owning the railroad and being the guy shoveling coal into the engine.
So how do you get it to run without you? The secret weapon is automation, and it starts with a virtual assistant, or a VA. Just imagine hiring someone for a few bucks an hour who, while you're out living your life, manages your inbox, books your flights, pays your bills, and deals with customer complaints. You're not just delegating tasks, you are literally buying back your life 1 hour at a time.
Now, this one might be the most controversial tool of all. To free up your mind, you have to go on a low-information diet. Stop watching the news, stop mindlessly scrolling social media, stop staying informed. Let's be honest, most of it is negative, it's repetitive, and you can't do anything about it anyway. It's a form of procrastination that feels really productive, but all it does is clutter your brain and steal your focus from what actually matters.
So, why are we doing all this? Redefining wealth, conquering fear, building a muse. What's the actual payoff here? Look, it's not about retiring at 30 so you can sit around and do nothing. It's about finally giving yourself permission to live and not waiting another damn second to start. The ultimate life hack here is to completely kill the idea of retirement. Just get rid of it. Instead of saving all your fun and adventure for the very end of your life, you distribute it throughout. You take mini retirements. You take a month off to learn how to tango in Buenos Aires. You spend 3 months skiing in Japan. You take 6 months to go sail the Caribbean. You start injecting life into your years instead of just adding years to your life.
But here's the hard truth. This story, these tools, this entire way of thinking, it's all completely and totally useless without one critical ingredient: action. This is not a spectator sport. This is a challenge aimed directly at you.
So I'm going to leave you with one last very serious question. Just think about this for a second. If a doctor told you tomorrow, for your own health, you are now limited to only 2 hours of work per week, what would you do? What would you immediately eliminate? What would you automate? What would you focus on that truly actually moves the needle? Because your answer to that question, that's where your new life begins.